And now it's time to see your viewer comments. Okay, let's begin with some comments on the AI assisted, not designed, AI assisted GShock. You had some very strong opinions about it. Jimmy Kincaid says, AI is so stupid. If I wore that watch to lunch just once, all those holes would be filled with burrito drippings. If I wore it to work, it would be filled with grease and dirt. That's so impractical. If you just left it sitting in its box, the holes would just collect dust. Who at Casio would greenlight this triphobic nightmare? Triphobic nightmare. Okay, I don't know what that means. But okay, Jimmy Kincaid has some really valid points there. Those holes will gather dust. But quite frankly, if there's anyone who's going to own this watch, it's probably those collectors that's going to keep it into the safe and have it as a collection showcase or a piece that they would just use to as a bargaining chip to any other piece that they would love in their near future. And I think they should be able to afford a dustless or a vacuum sealed display case for that. But that is the most impractical, one of the most impractical G-Shocks that you'll ever find. Because even if this, remember that $70,000 G-Shock, pure solid gold G-Shock square that was released back in the 35th anniversary. Was it 35th? I think it was 35th anniversary. That was still wearable. You could wear that and nobody would know the wiser. And Jimmy Kincaid is right here. Also, Steve Moreno also commented about the Invicta. Andy Forward also said it's hideous. One interesting comment here that I wanted to highlight is that of Bolido, and he said, "This is the first mechanical Casio, right?" Well, I did some digging. It's not really the first mechanical Casio, and this, quite frankly, may not be mechanical in the sense that how we categorize them. Because in the watch community, we often say mechanical to watches that are purely mechanical and not assisted by quartz. Even the Grand Seiko, movements that have a quartz oscillator is oftentimes still considered as quartz rather than mechanical. So if a watch contains some sort of semblance or some sort of feature that has quartz in it, it's most likely being categorized as quartz, and everything else mechanical is mechanical or automatic. This one seems to have some mechanical parts to it, not so dissimilar to the VK movements from Seiko. Remember those, this quartz chronograph. It has a quartz heart, so to speak, but it has a mechanical module on top that activates or that facilitates the chronograph hand. So that's why when you press it, it feels satisfying because it has that mechanical click, because it does have some mechanical parts in it. But the power source is a battery that has a quartz oscillator inside. So hopefully that clears things up. This still has some sort of quartzness to it, especially with the solar feature that it has. So it is not a mechanical watch as watch guys would categorize it to be. Okay, Bubble Wrap Villain says, I wore both the rose gold versions and of the GM2100 and the GMW B5000. The Casio was more brown than pinkish of the 5000. I prefer the look of the copper Casio over the gold Casio and the pinkish GMW B5000. But I'd rather have but it's rather bad if you want to use the digital functions due to the bad negative display. For the price, they should have that standard display. I think that's what he meant there with the STN. I'm still. I guess it depends on how you use your Casios. Many of you probably fidget with it. You click on the buttons. You see how the functions, and yes, you use it as a stopwatch. But for the Casio, I've never used the Casio as a stopwatch, so I guess it's really just for show and just telling the hours and minutes. So I don't mind that negative display. But going back to his comment, the copper or the rose gold Casio is really more copper or brownish than the rose or pink gold of the full metal square. But I think that's also another way of Casio or GShock releasing these color models. For sure, there's going to be a real pink gold model of the Casio, and I think that would be a little bit more desirable. To me, I didn't like the brownish copper tone of that Casio, but yeah, everyone has a preference.